Ball in the secondary in particular. If you love Boise State football, well, don't go anywhere for about the next 30 or 40 minutes, Prater, because football rules. Boise State football dominates this show, and there's one position group right now that looks like it's dominating this roster, and we talked to the new coach of the group, Terrence Brown. Are they calling him the secondary coach or the defensive backs coach?
DB's coach, defensive backs.
Yep. Defensive backs coach, and he's got the biggest room on the team. They used to handle this with two coaches and separate the safeties and nickels from the corner. They're not doing that anymore.
He's got 20 players on his roster. I believe the offensive line has 18 or 19 under Tim Keene. So Terrence Brown, your brand new defensive backs coach at Boise State, has got his hands full. He's got his responsibilities full. He comes from Cal, where he was formerly under the Chris Peterson wing at Washington, and then he was Justin Wilcox at Cal for a couple of years, and here he comes in taking over the defensive back room. Met him yesterday for the first time. We knew he was the defensive backs coach. We knew that they didn't have a safeties coach. We knew they didn't have a cornerbacks coach. Both those guys have departed. So we confirmed with him yesterday, yes, indeed, he is going to do both. Ballgame, I think I like it. The workload is massive for a brand new coach, but and I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be able to handle it. And Spencer Danielson, we trust. But there's probably a couple of minor pros and cons conversations we need to have when you put this kind of stuff together.
Massive group. And I didn't like it at first. I thought it was like, eh. And again, I don't know, but just my opinion was that's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids, dude.
This is a very, very important situation, the secondary. And corners and safeties nowadays in football, maybe there's not all these similarities. Maybe these are entirely different positions and need their own position coach. And in meetings, which is a big part of this, those kids spend more time in their classroom, way more time than they do on the field. It's all about they practice, then they all go in and watch practice, and then they do more.
You forgot about the 2-hour meeting before practice.
More. I mean, that's all they do. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe you would need corners to have their own time and safeties and nickels to have their own. But, we talked with Coach Brown yesterday. He gave, I thought, a very intelligent answer on whatnot and kind of explained things well to me. I have way less of a problem here than before, and I would certainly imagine there'll be a couple of assistant coaches that will be with Terrence Brown in defensive backs. They'll give him like a GA and a defensive special assistant and a assistant defensive backs coach. It's not just going to be him with 30 guys. I think Spencer's smarter than that. He's going to give him some help there. But overall, yeah, the DBs, they'll be way more unified this season. Like in the past, if you go to practice, they're not even really practicing together. The corners are doing their thing, and the safeties and nickel are doing their thing on different sides of the field. Then they'll congregate and then go through the next team-oriented, scrimmage or whatnot, and then they separate again. So it'll be interesting just watching practice this year. Terrence Brown will have an entirely different practice structure. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is.
Yeah, and to your point, DJ Killings is the Boise State's brand new assistant cornerbacks coach. So he'll assist Terrence Brown. I'm looking to see where he's from. I apologize. I didn't look that up in terms of where he's from. And they also have an assistant defensive backs coach. So they do have, I'm assuming Derek McMahon is going to be the assistant defensive backs coach. He'll probably focus on nickels and safeties. And then another coach, as I said, DJ Killings will focus on cornerback. So it's essentially a 3-man coaching group focusing on 20 players. I think the workload's going to be fine. I think I'm with you, Ballgame. I went in thinking, not so sure. The way he explained it, we got that audio for you right now. The way he explained it yesterday, Terrence Brown, I liked what he said.
I did too. And that was yesterday. And here's that exchange. We kept Prater's question in as well. On the second time. So here was Terrence Brown yesterday initially addressing the question, hey, all these guys, one coach, what's going on here, Terrence Brown?
In my past stops, we've kept the defensive backs in one room. So I've been familiar and accustomed to coaching all 5 positions over the past years or so. And for me, I think it's such a benefit to the young men. I think it gives them the opportunity to not only learn their position and how it ties into the defense, but learn the other positions as well. And then I think that as a whole, it enhances their development and their understanding of the game. And it makes sure that we're all on one accord. We're all on one page, and we're all receiving the same message. And everybody, when they're sitting in the meeting room or we're out there on the field, I mean, everybody's locked into the same coaching points. And so I've seen the benefit in doing that, and I'm looking forward to, continue to uphold that standard here at Boise State. I mean, there's been a great line of defensive backs that have come through here in Boise State over the years, and I'm just, grateful to be a part of this tradition.
Obviously, camp's going to decide a lot of it, and you're just getting the first impression stuff, but what, 12, 15 guys, whatever it is, plus in your room right now, would you say half of them can play both, a third, 2/3?
Yeah, I think that's what we'll continue to, determine as time progresses. I think I always try to tell the guys versatility is of value. And so the more you can do, the more valuable you are. And anyway, some guys may be asked to do something that they're not familiar with just based off of their athletic ability that ultimately will be a benefit to the team. And so, that's the beauty of keeping them all in one room. When we're doing drills, that's for the corners. The safeties can get the opportunity to get the work at that as well, or hear the coaching points, right? When we're doing drills, that's for the safeties. The corners can get the opportunity to do that as well, and same for the nickels. And so it's just the full defensive back development that I've taken a lot of pride in, and I know that the guys are excited about that as of right now. I mean, we're in our meeting room, and it's 19, 20 guys in there, and they're just all eager to just learn. And so that's all we can ask for.
The official number is 20, and I just went back and looked. It's 10 corners, and I completely underestimated that when I said 12 to 15 in the question, but it's at 20. 10 safeties, according to Boise State's roster, 10 cornerbacks, according to Boise State's roster, 7 brand new players amongst the 20, and 14 returning players from last year. By the way, here in about 5-10 minutes, we're going to continue our new player spotlight. 35 brand new players on Boise State's roster. And today we're going to look at Jericho Washington, a cornerback, as part of this conversation. Washington, a group of 5 transfer from Kennesaw State. We're going to talk about him in our next segment as we continue this DB conversation.
Yeah, where's he going to fit in? Where a lot of guys going to fit in. I mean, familiarity next year in the secondary. I mean, where are you going to find it? Sherrod Smith, you'll find a little bit there. As far as the safety, though, Zion gone, Buck gone, Prater, Mickey most likely we think might have a chance to move to corner. If not, he'll stay at nickel. And then you're going to open up another corner spot. And we don't even know if you had a spot last year, if that'll, stick as your spot this year. There's a lot of guys, and I like this Jericho Washington kid that we're going to talk about next segment. Like that, they're going to come here and challenge a lot of people to play. Won't shock me if there's just next year's roster defensively. There's just a ton of new names, guys.
And we already did him, but that's also why I think a guy like Tay Brown, Benny Powell, of all these new players, is probably primed to come in and have a chance to play right away, because he's already gotten he's like 2 or 3 years out of high school now. So he's somebody that you would think is poised to play a lot for Boise State. And you mentioned safety being a spot where there's going to be a lot of reps available.
Ballgame, I like that answer. I think we both were convinced after that answer from Terrence Brown. It was very methodical, very well thought of. And I like the fact that that's where he's always comfortable doing it. And that's how he's always done it. So that part to me is really, really strong. We know the defensive backroom guys. I mean, they did better last year. The 2 coaches and the players, they had a pretty solid year last year. That's after 2 or 3 years of just beating them up. It's hard, man. It's a tough position.
Yeah.
And nickel can be so different than a boundary cornerback, or a free safety can be so much different than a field wide cornerback. There's a lot of overlap, but there's a little bit of difference there, and it can become technically a little bit of an issue. But I think that there's 2 or 3 or 4 guys here. I mean, you mentioned Mickey. Ganter, I think you can mix and match maybe a couple of these guys. We'll see how they play out, but I like the versatility of more conveniently moving a corner to safety or a safety to corner if indeed you need to go there, because sometimes, especially at these positions at Boise State, depth has always been a concern.
Yeah, and just one advantage. I talked to a buddy of mine on this last night, getting ready for this segment, Prater, or talking about DBs yesterday, and just talking about how Boise State's not going to have 2 coaches. A benefit is, for example, I mean, there's a lot of zone coverages, or even say a corner's in man, and he has a safety, say, over the top on his inside. So he's going to start and maybe play that receiver on an outside leverage because he knows he has safety help over the top inside. If you have the room together with all of them, there's more potential of a chance for cohesion or just being able to communicate.
Yep.
That safety is in that same room and looks at the corner and says, yeah, dude, I got you here. And okay, I mean, when you're not in the same room, you're just assuming, okay, great. Yeah. The corner coach will say, oh yeah, those safeties will be over the top, but those safeties aren't in the room watching that. They're in their other room. So the coach I was talking to saying it can benefit because you're right. It'll teach the corners and the safeties way more about the other positions and not be as foreign. So maybe collectively, maybe this secondary can improve on last year, which didn't do a bad job. They led the league in interceptions, and I think they were at the top of the league in passing yardage allowed. Like the two stats you want for your secondary, they were at the top of the league in.
And that was something that we talked about going into the start of last season was where are the interceptions going to come from? Are they going to be able to generate more takeaways? And, Demario Warren ended up doing a really nice job, it felt like, as the season progressed last year. So Terrence Brown has bigger shoes to fill than maybe we would have thought a year ago.
I think communication is the most important word here. We can just stop at the word communication and realize that this is probably a pretty good idea. In terms of the example that Johnny just gave you and the ability to communicate. And, every position group, the offensive line has to communicate. The linebackers have to communicate with the defensive line. Everybody has to communicate. But the secondary, those guys, in terms of their geographic footprint, there isn't a bigger, wider swath when it comes to the defense. So if you got a guy on one side and a guy on another side and then three guys kind of tucked in the middle, those guys are all 10 to 20 yards apart. It's easy to communicate with the offensive line when your feet are touching. In this particular case, the communication is key, and I think that that's the best factor and the best answer for this. I like it. I don't see how it can go wrong. And I think, as you said, Ballgame, this could lead to better, more consistent defensive back play.
And I do like the guys they brought in. We haven't seen them yet, but I like their pedigrees. I cannot wait to go out there on spring ball and get a look at Cam Jamerson and get a look at TBP that Greg talked about, Tabron Benny Powell, the Notre Dame transfer, the kid we're going to talk about this hour coming from a G6 level. Like I do like some of the background, and we'll see what these kids can do, obviously, on the field. This is the game now. You're bringing in all these new players every single year, and you're crossing your fingers, I think, that these guys can play. They did bring in 5 Power 4 transfers, Prater, and we'll see what happens with them. Let's start our player series.
Resume it.
I'll resume our player spotlight series. We're giving you a look at all the new players, whether it's right out of high school, right out of junior college, or right out of the transfer portal. Getting to know you, getting to know all about Jericho Washington. Next, Prater on the Ball Game.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studio, this is Ticket Traffic.